Hi there, welcome to this Insomnia Insight episode, which is especially to you if you are a healthy person. Perhaps you are a runner, or you do yoga, or you're a weightlifter or something like that, and you have had trouble sleeping. This is specifically for you. And this episode was requested, and I can't remember who exactly it was, but it was when Ryan was a guest that this topic came up. So we're going to look at 3 specific ideas that produce a lot of hyperarousal and trouble sleeping. And we're going to see how we can meet those ideas in a very helpful way. So let's jump into it. Something I hear very often is something of this nature. I am on a vegan or a keto or low carb diet or some kind of diet. I'm on this diet. I exercise an hour and a half every day. I do yoga. I'm perfectly healthy, but I don't sleep. It's like this mystery, right? And you may not be on any of these specific diets, but you may recognize yourself, and so that's what we're going to talk about today. Now, the fundamentals is always this one, just worth repeating real quickly. Insomnia is a product of hyperarousal. Basically, we are in this hypervigilant state, looking for something that may be a problem. The brain is kind of trying to keep us safe. That is what produces insomnia, trouble sleeping. And so we're going to look at 3 ideas that can produce hyperarousal in the context of, being a healthy person. So let's jump into it. Let's look at these 3 ideas. Like the idea number 1 is that sleeping is important for health. And I specifically refer here to health in terms of diabetes, Alzheimer's, like medical conditions there. There can be an idea that sleeping is important. Sleeping a certain amount is important to prevent any of those type of health issues. Now, a second idea here is that unhealthy people don't sleep well and healthy people sleep well. And the third idea is I'm not a 6-pack person. I'm not like a person who eats chips or smokes or eats, fast food or things of that nature. That's just not who I am. And this one is like not so obvious, right? Where am I going with this? I think this is a super important one. And we're going to talk about that one, of course, in a second. Now, these ideas often lead to a specific behavior, which is tracking. Tracking how much carb you ate, how many times you ate, how many fuelings you had, how much protein you had, how many steps you took, your weight, and of course sleep. How many hours you slept, how many times you woke up, like how much REM sleep, and that type of thing. That all is very connected with this desire to live a very healthy life, right? Which in itself is no problem with that, but when it comes to sleep and other aspects of life too, things can get really quite tricky. So now that we looked at these kind of like some key ideas here that produce hyperarousal and trouble sleeping, the question then becomes, okay, so how do I meet these ideas, and and we can go a little bit further into why are they problematic. So the first idea is that sleep is important for health. And why is this an idea that often produces hyperarousal? Well, it's quite straightforward here. It is because the more pressured we are to sleep, the more we feel that we have to sleep, it's important for any type of reason, then there's more hyperarousal, like more friction, more desire, more like, I gotta make sleep happen. You can just sense how the tension increases. The more we think sleep is important, the more tension there's gonna be, the more pressure, and the less sleep is gonna happen, right? And so that's why this idea leads to like hyperarousal and pressure. And so how do we meet this idea? Well, really, this is just education. Knowing that insomnia, which is the struggle with sleep, I can't sleep, nothing works, etc., the anxiety struggle, insomnia, or short sleep, just like sleeping a short amount of time, neither has ever been shown to cause any type of health problem. We hear a lot about like Alzheimer's, that's the big one right now. We hear about cancer, heart disease, all kinds of things. But this has never been shown. I've written a whole book called Why We Don't Sleep that is refuting all these ideas. And basically, the thing is that when you read headlines, it sounds like there's always this implied this implication or implied message. I'm not using my words very well here, but the headlines often imply that someone has shown that insomnia causes this or that. But when you read through the whatever study was out there, it's some kind of mouse model, or it's some like small study, like that ran for 2 weeks, and some weird extrapolation from that. But there's never been any causal link established between short sleep insomnia and trouble sleeping. Never. So that's just education that I can meet that one with. And by the way, one thing to add here is kind of mental health. A lot of people say, okay, so I'm not talking, I didn't think of it as important for health in terms of like diabetes and things of that nature, but more of like depression, anxiety, like mental health. That's a different topic. Like, and my answer to this one, which is not entirely part of this video, but I still want to mention this here, is that though the mental health to me is like it all comes from the same place as insomnia. It basically comes from trying to avoid some type of discomfort. And so it's true, of course, that when we have insomnia, we often also have anxiety, a lot of anxiety and things of that nature. They all come from the same place. It's not like insomnia causes those, or those things cause insomnia. It's just that they come from the same place. So whatever you learn about sleep applies, I believe, broadly. Okay. So now we covered idea number 2. The second idea here is that unhealthy people don't sleep well, but healthy people sleep well. And why this causes a lot of hyperarousal is the idea that to sleep, sleeping well is part of the picture of the healthy person that I want to be. I'm not an unhealthy person. That's not me. And this is kind of like the identity of a healthy person includes sleeping well, which again is not a source of pressure. We want to, when sleeping a certain amount or sleeping a certain way or something like that has meaning, some type of important meaning, that's another way it produces pressure to sleep, and the more pressure, the less you sleep, right? So how do we meet this idea? Well, it's just knowing that quote unquote unhealthy people who are maybe like overweight, maybe smoke, maybe, spend the whole day like very passively at home, something like that, can sleep perfectly well, can sleep great, and somebody who's healthy and, kind of, if you're watching this and you're very healthy, you don't sleep well, you have the other part of this answer in front of you, which is that people who are very healthy can have a lot of trouble sleeping. And so the point here is really that your sleep, how much you sleep, the way you sleep, it says nothing about how healthy you are. And when you know that, then this idea that sort of like part of my identity is sleeping well, it's part of being a healthy person. When that no longer is there, when you see that, sleeping, how I sleep says nothing about who I am, my personality, if I'm healthy or not, then that also reduces so much pressure to sleep. So that's a really helpful one. Now, the third one is something I've pondered a lot. And basically, if we look at the third idea here, it was that I'm not like a six-pack type of person or a chips person, right? And so what I mean by that, well, it's that we humans, all of us, we will experience thoughts that produce emotions. Emotions come from thoughts, and several thoughts produce emotions that are not comfortable. These are like thoughts that produce anxiety, thoughts that make us sad, thoughts that make us angry, and that emotion often is not very comfortable. It's not comfortable to be anxious or sad or angry, things like that. So we humans often come up with ways to like get away from that, to buffer that feeling, to not feel it, to try to escape it. We don't want to feel that way. And some people just kind of go towards the six-pack, oh man, this was a rough day. I feel beat up. I feel like kind of emotionally like, let's say sad or frustrated. I need a six-pack, right? That's, for some people, that is a way to not feel those emotions. And for another person, it's like, oh my gosh, I'm so anxious, so stressed. Oh, what am I going to do? And that person maybe grabs like the chips and kind of eats to not feel bored, or eats chips to not feel anxious or something like that. Now, of course, anything we do to try to escape an emotion like that is just like not listening to what the brain is telling us, or what our body's telling us. And the more the brain is going to try to push that message. So if you drink a six-pack to not feel anxious, for example, that is eventually going to lead to more and more anxiety, because the brain like pushes the signal that you don't want to hear. When you listen to signal, the opposite happens, right? So what does this got to do with the healthy thing? Well, you often think that, well, I'm the type of person who does not drink alcohol in that way, or smoke, or drink chips. I'm a healthy person, so it becomes a very natural way to sort of address uncomfortable emotions to go further into health. And this is the person who often is like, I'm not a six-pack person. I do yoga. I meditate. I take care of my health, which is all not good things. They can be good things themselves. But when those things become the way that you escape uncomfortable emotions, then it's just the same thing. It's just another way of not listening. But very often, a person, a client, or somebody on the channel here that is very healthy, when you start kind of like probing and looking at things, you see that a lot of the sort of healthy behaviors are ways of not feeling a certain way. A lot of people, meditation, a lot of yoga, like people who are like deep into yoga, when you start looking at it, it's like, oh, this was another way of trying to escape, just as the six-pack is for some person, or like, consuming food is for some person, And so I think this is really important. And this is the one where, like, it kind of requires the deep look within, like, why am I doing all these healthy things? Is it because I like that and like I just enjoy taking care of my health, or is there a component here of me trying to escape uncomfortable emotions? And when you're willing to take that look within and you see that, oh, not at all, I just like having a healthy lifestyle, great. But if you see that, oh, there was a component there of escapism, then everything changes. You have awareness, and you can do the same thing. You can enjoy yoga without that becoming a buffering exercise or trying to escape an emotion again. Okay, so I think that's a big one. I think that's a really big one. So, and then, by the way, when these ideas are no longer there, then that leads to a lot of either abandonment of tracking, where you're like, oh my gosh, I've been tracking my sleep to try to get control because I want to, I thought it was good for health or something like that. Then you can easily like, oh, I don't need to do that. I can abandon tracking, leads to like real peace, a peaceful place, peaceful sleep, etc. Or you can just be like what I call this honest tracking, which is just like, I'm tracking these things and I'm going to be real honest. Am I tracking this in an unattached way? I just kind of want to keep track of my weight. I don't want to go over this, but there's no emotions involved. Or is tracking again a way to have control? And so you can, when you do that, you can just decide, you know what, I think this is totally fine. I think I can track this way, this thing, but you know what, I don't think I should track this way. So you can track things and be honest, like there's no attachment to it. But that kind of honest approach, like looking at this in a deep way, gives you freedom to choose what to track and not to track, which is super helpful. So I hope this brought a lot of value and made sense. As always, any comments, post them in the comments section. There is a link in the description if you have a question for open class as well. And as always, if you like the teaching here, but you feel like you would like a little more help connecting the dots, then just head over to thesleepcoachschool.com and you can see, find ways that you can work with myself, whether it's one-on-one in BedTyme, the app, or whether it's this becoming part of our immunity program, Insomnia Immunity program. I think those are great options if you'd like a little bit more support on your path to sleeping well for the rest of your life. There you have it. Hope you enjoyed this and look forward to having you back real soon. Until then, take it easy.